Hello, everybody. I'm Michael Monaco.
And I'm Bobby Salvesen. We are the Hazmat Guys, bringing you knowledge and insight to make your job a little bit easier and safer.
Let's take a minute to hear about today's sponsors.
Hey, have you heard about the Decon Field Guide?
Oh, yeah. The First Line Technologies, the DFG, has everything that I'm looking for in the field of emerging threats.
Yeah, the DFG has a brand new look with updated time-saving resources such as instructional videos, guidance documents, dwell timings, FAQs, even a ton more than that.
You're preaching to the choir, man. I've already been using the guide documents and the instructional videos on a bunch of classes that we're teaching throughout the country.
Yeah, so simply download the Decon Field Guide app to your smartphone or tablet to access the full threat library, step-by-step instructions, and instructional videos. Download the Decon Field Guide app today. You can find it on the Apple App Store or Google Play.
Let's get to the show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Hazmat Guys, episode 248. It seemingly never ends. I'm Bobby Salvesen, and I'm here with Mike Monaco. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Bob. Once again, we are on the air.
Yes, we are on the air, and we're just actually taking a break. I think both of us are doing this right now. We're taking a break from making brand new programs for the university. I'm knee-deep into a metering, multi-part technology module thingamajig. I don't even know what to call it.
Thingamajig? I've got
It
20.
is. It's so. It's almost like I'm building it as fast as I can think of it, but I'm just burying myself. It's like it's such a big monster, and it's how do you eat it? It's just one bite at a time. So breaking it into the modules is the hardest part for me. Is like because I just want to vomit all the stuff at one time.
It is crazy. You're doing the metering portion. So basically, what we're doing is we're putting together an operations level class that can be 100% done online. So the competencies can be done online. Everything can be done online, and there's a lot of moving parts and pieces, and we're just trying to put it all together and get it out as quick as possible. But we don't want to just put garbage out. We want to put something out that's like, oh wow, this that's really awesome. Does take the place of an in-house instructor.
Yeah. So good times. Check the university.
I've got pipes and tubes and stuff hanging from my ceilings and walls. It's my bedroom looks like a giant recording studio. It's crazy.
Good stuff. All right, so we are going to be finishing up our metering mailbag. What started out to be just a little bit of the difference between FTI and Raman, the difference between IMS and mass spec. Then kind of fell into a second episode where we talked a little bit more about I think it was mostly like resolutions and response factors and etc.
Yeah, it was more operations based for the guy that's like, well, I don't understand. I can smell the stuff, but it's not showing me anything on my natural gas meter.
Yes,
which we kind of talked about a little bit.
Right, and now we're going to kind of sweep up and finish up this metering mailbag, which I think was we teased out this thing last week, and because we just couldn't fit it in the show, but it kind of finishes up the question, is troubleshooting.
Yeah. So we had a question come in a while ago about, actually it was about 2 months ago. It came in about, the guy was frustrated with the new guys in the company. That they seem to understand how things functioned, but then when things go wrong, they're like a deer in headlights.
Right.
And I can totally sympathize with what he was saying, and he was giving some suggestions. And we're going to talk a little bit about the different things that we've gone into and the troubleshooting that we had to do. Unfortunately, there's only two ways around learning how to troubleshoot better, and that is one, having shit break down right in front of you, and you having to just figure it out on the fly, or two is listening to other people's experiences and putting them in the old noggin so that your brain has it as a file to go back to. And we've talked about this extensively on the show about the need to have people come on and talk about when things went wrong, right? Because then they can go through that list of, all right, this is what went wrong, this is what I did, this is what worked. because that is a way in the fire service that we learn tremendously back and forth. Is this went wrong and this is how we did it. But there are some basic things that you can do in quarters. There's a couple, the fundamental stuff. You can look at, what happens in your own experience when things have gone wrong with the pumps. Set up the pumps and make them run through different troubleshooting techniques with your pumps. Run through metering failures, run through propane drills. That's the one that I'm going to talk about in a few minutes, is this propane run where just nothing was coming out. Why? And the guys looked like deers in headlights, being like, I don't understand. I turned the valve and nothing's coming out.
Yeah.
What do I do now?
Right. I see a lot of this with I see a lot in metering. Where there's, it's a pump failure, or they're not reading the meter right, or like you said, pumps. Pumps is like, we do a lot of movement of things. Like that's kind of like one of our specialty tools is using the pumps, and we've had every iteration of a failure you could possibly even done, and now we can replicate them with actually pretty good accuracy. Like we can actually make them fail. So that the first time you see it, and Mike's saying this is, I encourage you to look this up. It's called recognition prime decision making, RPD, and basically this whole theory is that you program your mind prior to with like a program. Think of it like a computer, and so that
like an if then.
Yeah, because the situation comes up, your mind in milliseconds looks through the entire file cabinet and goes, okay, this program is not exactly it, but it's close to it. So fire muscles 1, 17, and 23, and we were successful last time. Let's give it a go. And if you have an empty hard drive, then
that's like, the deer in headlights look.
Crap, you can't. Yeah, it's so the name of the game for us is to try to replicate every single one. But the problem is like without people calling in with things that we haven't even thought of, we haven't experienced them, we don't even know what to replicate.
Right. I don't know what went wrong on something that I don't do that often. There's stuff out there that people do all the time that I just will do once in my career, and vice versa. So we really that input, that need to be like, listen, man, this is where stuff went wrong. And a prime example is going to be we did somebody did a propane burn off a few weeks ago, and they inserted the valving for the propane, and they turned the cylinder on to let it flow because the flare was ready to go, everything was going, and nothing came out. And they were kind of like, well, I know it's full. I can feel it's full. I know it's still leaking because they sprayed the neck. The cylinder had been involved with fire. And so you had the different expansions of the two metals, and you had bubbles coming out from the threads. And they were just like, I don't really know what to do next. Like, I did everything I was supposed to, and this isn't working. So we had to kind of, during the run, walk them through how to do the cylinder. We're going to kind of walk through that now so that you can replicate this type of a conversation at your firehouse. But if you were to set everything up and it went wrong, where would be at least a starting point for you, Bob? What would be something that you would consider looking at right away?
Okay.
And there's no real order in a lot of this. It's just what makes sense.
But I think you start at one end or the other. I wouldn't just start attacking in the middle, because then you can't really take the variable out.
Okay. So in that regards, right, we have a propane tank and we have a flare end. What side would you start on?
I'd probably start with the flare end.
Okay.
All right, because it's pretty simple. I would think it's pretty simple over there. So on our flare stack, it's a pretty simple setup. It's the nozzle, and there's a little pipe next to it that holds a flare, and we just turn on the flare and we put it in the pipe, and there you go. It turns on. It's pretty simple. It's effective. So if I can look at the flare stack and visually see that, I can't explain it, but that gas look coming out of the stack, whether it's on fire or not, I can see there's gas coming out the end. So I have positive in and positive out.
Well, in this case, they turned on the cylinder and there was nothing. There was no noise, nothing coming out of the flare, just nothing.
Okay. So if I have nothing there, I would have to inspect the tip because who knows? A spider built a nest in it. I don't know. So I would kind of give it a little visual inspection. Okay, nothing there. I would disconnect the hose from the cylinder and see if I can put an SCBA cylinder or something like that to pressurize and blow out whatever's in there.
Okay. While you're removing that nipple, there is no release of pressure at all. So as normally, what I'm basically saying is if you were to attach and there was pressure going into the system, as you back that off, there would be a little there'd be a little bit of
Right.
something.
Okay, well, that means it probably didn't come out the cylinder, but let me check this with going in order. So I would, again, put my SCBA cylinder to the edge and blow out, make sure I have in and out. Okay. So now basically I've determined it's between that coupling and the cylinder. So do I have any valving, like quarter turn,
You've got
gates?
your regular. It was a 20-pound tank, so you have your regular OPD valving on it.
Okay. Then I'm going to assume they're all operating, and if I have a gauge, I want to see if the gauge did go up when I turned on the valve on the cylinder. So I have rigging between my hose and the cylinder. So I'm going to disconnect that from the cylinder.
Okay.
Do I hear anything pop out? Do I hear a decompression? Anything?
Nothing.
Okay, so I'm likely not going to have any blockage in there, but I'm going to turn on my SCBA cylinder and see if positive in, positive out. Okay, I've put that one to the side. So now I have definitely something in the cylinder. Now, I'm walking this through in my head, so I'm trying to think. There's 3 outputs on a 20-pound propane cylinder. There is the regular output that we hook up to. There is the spitter valve, which is a little flathead screwdriver on the side of the valve that gives off very little, but it indicates how much liquid is in there. And then third is the pressure relief device, which is spring set. Now, we don't have those 3 releasing. We have it coming from the threading. That is not a normal operation, so let's discount that for a second. So I'm going to try opening up the spitter because defeating the PRD is just a pain in the ass. And obviously my rig, my valving that I attached should have defeated the OPD in the first place. And it was not successful. So I'm going to crack open the spitter. Do I get gas coming out of it?
You do.
Okay. So what I think now is since my rigging should have defeated the OPD is defeatless. She's a broke.
Yeah, and basically that's pretty much what ended up happening is that for whatever reason that nipple that we had was not applying pressure to the OPD. Now, the spring valve on the inside that requires you to push it in.
Yes.
We ended up putting another connection in there, and for whatever reason, that one ended up pushing it enough to be able to get something out. But we think the fact that it was involved with the fire somehow warped or changed the characteristics of the tank and the valve where that one just didn't push in.
Right. And staying with the propane thing, because we've had something very similar to this that we walked out almost exactly how I just said it. Whereas I'll throw you the scenario now.
Okay.
So you have a propane tank not involved in fire, just overpressurized because good old pal Ken at the
Thanks,
propane place,
buddy.
he goes, I'm going to give you a little extra, right? And that is never helpful for you. But he gives you a little extra in there, and we have to flare it off. And you turn it on. It is up, right side up, right? So it is correctly oriented on the ground. And you get a very underwhelming flame.
Okay.
So you want it to go faster because we're not on overtime and we want to get the hell out of there.
Right.
And so you turn the entire cylinder upside down, which should give you a liquid and a much more impressive flame. And however, you don't get anything better.
What type of tank is this?
20-pound regular barbecue. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think. So I would actually follow right along some of the things that you would do. I would assume that there was a blockage in the line. And I would have that checked. Then I would probably disconnect the propane tank from the flare and then start to inspect that tank. I would, if I could throw a gauge on, I would make sure.
Gauge shows pressure.
Good pressure.
You got good pressure. I mean, obviously you're giving off vapor, so it is going down because it's trying to boil and blah blah blah.
Right.
You are getting the pressure you expect. You're getting the hiss when you disconnect on both sides of the valving.
If I jam a screwdriver in there, does my OPD depress and come back?
Yep.
All the way?
Yep, no problem. It does. It does its job.
I'm getting just kind of a lazy little flame.
Yeah, it's underwhelming is the word.
All right, well, so I have pressure. It's clearly a flow issue.
It's a flow issue.
It's
that's
clearly
that's
a flow issue, right? Because I can either have no pressure, like if I'm burning so long that I've auto-refrigerated it, and then it's a pressure issue. But if I have pressure and I'm not getting propane out, or the gas out, then it's clearly a flow issue. So
Yes.
I either have some kind of a blockage,
Okay.
and that blockage could be in a line somewhere,
Okay.
or it could be the OPD itself not fully pulling back, like I'm just getting a slight crack. That valve inside only pushes up a little bit, restricting the flow. Is there a regulator involved in this, or is it a straight line?
It's a straight line. And when they hooked it up, you and one other guy, they said, okay, the flare's on, and okay, turn it on. And the guy just, he took the 90-degree stopcock and just flew it over to the inline, the open gauge, and immediately went to low.
But is there some kind of a overflow protection device in there, like
Yes.
where you can overflow the amount of flow coming out, and you slam it shut?
Exactly what happened. So this is what happened. And I guarantee everybody that has a barbecue has seen this happen before. You go underneath the barbecue, all the burners are already on. You turn on the propane tank and you go to light it and you get nothing coming out. How do you fix that? You got to shut all the burners, disconnect the cylinder from the entire barbecue, turn all the burners on, turn them all off, reconnect.
Because you're doing what?
Cylinder.
You're depressurizing the whole system, right? Okay.
That's the point. So when we were explaining to this guy, why you shouldn't just throw it over is because when it senses there's a little bowl in there, it's like your shop vac. Mm-hmm. When the thing fills up, the bowl floats at the top and it does not vacuum anymore. Well, what happens is if it senses that there's too much propane coming out, the bowl slaps to the top, and you will actually hear it.
You can hear it.
It sounds like somebody takes a screwdriver and taps the side of the tank. You hear ping.
Yep.
And it'll fly up. That's because of a pressure mismatch. So why did I have an underwhelming flame is because there's actually flutes along the sides of where that bowl clicks into the cup. And if you didn't have those little flutes in there, you would never get the bowl to fall back down. It has to equalize on both sides. So because the flow is going so fast, it slaps that thing up, and it will not let it down until you depressurize and put all the pressure back in the right spots. It'll fall, and then when you give it the gas, you go slow, and it'll go.
Right. And we even see these with high-low tanks. Right?
Yes.
They have the flow restriction device on the inside as well, and it confuses people for the first couple times because they may not necessarily be using the 90-degree. They're just turning the valve. But we're also burning the liquid. So you turn the valve and the flame looks great. You're like, oh, this is good, and you keep opening that valve, and then all of a sudden, like out of nowhere, the flame dies down to almost nothing, and you're like, looking at each other like, what the hell just happened?
Is it empty?
Is it? Yeah. Oh, is it empty? And then you shake it and it's full, and you're like, I don't understand.
Right. And we've had this where we've done everything right, really feathered it out, and when you go to full max, you'll hear that ping, because your setup is just too fast for the cylinder.
Right.
And so you might only be able to run at a maximum of like 75% of the throw, 60% of the throw, whatever it is. You go until you hit that ding, and you're like, crap. All right, next time I depressurize, because you got to take the whole thing apart.
Right. Don't go.
Bring it a little less. And
don't go to that point again.
It's
It's cool. Troubleshooting is a big part of it, and along with the troubleshooting, I'm going to throw in anticipation. the ability to be standing around and looking at the scene and anticipate what needs to be done next, right? You kind of have different levels of, learning. It's just like being a firefighter, right? You're a probie, you don't really know anything, you kind of learn how to put the fire out, and that's kind of it. Or you learn like your one specific job, and then you start to look around and you start to anticipate what's going to come next. And that's when, a good firefighter or a good hazmat technician is really a good technician, is when the entry team turns around and calls for something and you're already holding it.
Yeah.
Or the boss calls for something on a fire ground and you're like, oh, boss, I just did that, or I already did that. Oh, I brought 2 hooks because I knew it was a, top floor fire. It's those things that bring you through those levels and really make the whole team look professional and well organized. So on top of teaching people, this is the equipment, this is the procedure, have them start thinking ahead. Well, I am here. What am I going to need next? If something fails, does this have the potential of failing? Does it look like we're like, this may not work? Why don't you start coming up with a backup plan and have that backup plan ready in case the first one fails? Or having the next drum prepped before the one drum fills up so everything can be transferred over easily. There's so much more to all of this than just, I know this meter, I know this pump, I know how this functions. You have to be able to know how the system functions so that you can troubleshoot.
Yeah, and nothing is the greater... nothing will show it more than distance. When the scene is a half a mile away,
yes,
and you forget that one screwdriver, and you're like, I got to walk a half mile back just to get that one screwdriver. And what are you going to do? You're going to be cussing the whole way, get that one screwdriver, and all the way back up, they're like, no, I needed the metric one. You're like, oh my God.
Well,
and then bring everything.
And don't
stop.
Bring it back until the operation's done.
Right.
We had a tractor trailer flip over, and we ended up parking like half a mile away. And, good new guy, trying to do the right thing, trying to clean up and make sure all is good. But we jumped from one operation to another, and then we needed to take a step back, and the equipment was gone. And we were like, where's X, Y, and Z? And he's like, I brought it back to the rig already. And we're like, bro, we need that crap like 5 minutes ago. And so he had to hump all the way back to the rig with multiple guys because he had taken multiple trips to put it away and bring it all back, and it slowed everything down. So don't put anything away until you're actually the operation's finished, because it's so much easier for everyone to put everything away than for you to try to do it in dribs and drabs. So any other time you can think of off the top of your head that you really had to troubleshoot? I mean, I know we've had meters, like we've had mercury meters, and we were getting readings everywhere, and that was an easy one. That's just there was mercury contaminated, within the tube in the machine. But those kinds of things can even be tricky when we're sitting and we're trying to figure out, I don't understand why is this? So even something like that, you go through a mercury, right? I'm getting high readings everywhere I go. How do I determine whether it's the machine? Well, first thing I'm going to do is take the probe off and see if the meter readings go down.
Right. Use a second one to inspect the first one.
Right. Use a second one to inspect the first one. Take the whole thing and put it in a plastic bag and see if it comes off with vapors. There's lots of different techniques that we can do to start troubleshooting and, understanding what things are and where they fail, and then the consequences of those failures.
Right. How is it going to impact this long range, short range reputation, personally, company, departmentally, safety wise? You can't just when liquids are flowing, you can't just say time out. I forgot a valve.
Yeah. Oops.
They're flowing.
Oops.
So yeah, troubleshooting is, especially with liquids, I've seen that a lot where you forget that one piece of valving, or you forget to tighten this, and that's why a systematic approach to hazmat will save you save you money, time, insert any word here, because I don't know, man, it's experience.
It is.
Well, that wraps up another episode of the Hazmat Guys.
You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and our YouTube channel at The Hazmat Guys, and take a moment to call our comment hotline at 843-628-1484.
And we are always looking forward to your feedback about information or interesting incidents that you were a part of, so send us a note at feedback@thehazmatguys.com.
Remember, guys, don't just get on the job, get into the job.